Dear me, slip up with the TV remote there. So, England's swimming water this time. It's bathing water. I mean, who the hell is going to go bathing in the winter anyway? Only a mad English person. That is true. That much is definitely true. So the headline on the Independent: the record number of polluted spots swimmers are urged to avoid ahead of Christmas swims. Ahead of Christmas swims? This is Christmas Eve, which means it's Christmas. More than 4% of the country's bathing spots have been declared unsafe for swimmers after the latest release of water quality data. Dearie me. That's a terrible shame, that, isn't it? And there's a photograph there of people that aren't exactly bathing. They've got all their clothes on, and nobody's wearing any sort of swimming gear or anything. And they're all sort of just on the photograph as if they're just walking about in shallow, ankle-deep water with their shoes on. Which is Western-super-Mare. That's where it is among the spots where the quality of bathing water has been judged as poor. Ooh. A record number of bathing spots across England. It's a wonder it doesn't say the UK, isn't it? That's what they usually do. Instead of saying England, they usually say the UK. Don't know why. Maybe they're embarrassed about themselves. So anyway, a record number of bathing spots across England have the worst quality of water, new figures show. With swimmers urged to stay away for the sake of their health. As hardy bathers brace for festive dips in the sea on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, questions continue over the state, not of Britain's waters at all, of England's waters. They've already stated we're talking about England, not all of Britain. You should have called England the UK then, shouldn't you have, morons? The Independent, You can't get that right, can they? We've got a contradiction here. One minute they're talking about England, next minute they're talking about Britain's waters. What's they're talking about England again, by the way? The polluted spots include seaside resorts such as Western-super-Mare in Somerset and Scarborough in North Yorkshire. The Environment Agency's sampling of coastal waters between May and September show that out of 423 areas, 405 met the lowest minimum standard for cleanliness. You clacky little shits. However, 18 failed and were classed as having a poor, having a poor quality of bathing water. That figure is an increase on the 12 last year and is the highest number recorded since 2015. Testing is based on levels of E. coli. Ooh, that's nasty. Imagine having that in your swimming waters. So England already knows they've got E. coli in their swimming waters. That's why the testing was based on it, obviously. And intestinal enterococci. I don't know. with samples taken over a 4-year period. The grading is broken into 4 categories: excellent, good, sufficient, and poor. Excellent. You're taking that piss, aren't you? Swimmers are urged not to go in the bathing water if classed poor, and signs must be displayed to warn people, and I bet they're not either. One of the problems facing England again, it's not Britain anymore again. First it was England, then it was Britain's waters, and now it's back to England again. I wish they would get that right. It's England. One of the problems facing England's coastal waters is the release of sewage from pipe systems during heavy. Yeah, that's right, because you've got an outdated sewage system. Yeah, it's the same pipes that's used for wastewater, for waste rainwater that flows into the rivers. It was designed that way, and then they doubled it up as a sewage system. You can't really blame the. I mean, people. The government was passing the buck on to these private companies, Thames Water, etc. You know, and all the rest of them. But it's not them to blame. I looked at that actually. Months ago, I was looking at that. Yeah, you do eat when it rains, all the water goes down your drains and into your rivers. When you go use the bathroom, all your bathroom stuff, when you flush, goes into the same pipes. It's only one system for both. Rain wastewater to go into the rivers, which it was originally designed to do, which is fine. But nobody could be bothered creating a separate sewer system, separate sewer pipes. That wouldn't be a problem today. Everybody's got separate sewer pipes. The majority of the world has anyway. The majority of the Western world, all of Europe, I can guarantee you, don't have this problem. Maybe just the French. They're that way inclined, you know. Them and England on and off over a couple of thousand years, well, 1,000 years anyway. England's not at all. You're talking about over hundreds of years. Having a love-hate relationship. One minute they're very close to each other, next minute they're very far apart, trying to murder each other. And that was then. So if they can get that close, I dare say France will be just as bad probably as the English when it comes to sewers and fresh water drainage. Jesus. So that's always been like that. It's been like that since as far back as the sewage system was first created, because it wasn't. They just used the same pipes, the same source, the same system that flows rainwater into rivers, which means all your sewage goes into the rivers too. It's nobody's fault. You can't blame the companies. They didn't devise that like that. They didn't build that like that. But it's up to the government. A government cannot and should not expect the private companies to put in every single last penny into changing that, into building out. You would need a brand new system. It's like the River Thames. For hundreds and hundreds of years, that's been full of sewage, and it still is today. It still is right now. That's why when you look at water, it's always brown, and yet not summer last year, summer this year, sorry, but summer last year actually, it was all over Sky News. the senior Londoners using gondolas and everything, thinking it was Venice, and you could see the deep brown water on TV. And I'm sitting here thinking, no way, no fucking way. And there must be a smell comes off of that river tank. There got to be. I mean, there's no fish in it. Fish can't live in there. Nobody goes fishing. Even if there was fish there, nobody would go fishing in there, obviously. You need to be pretty stupid to do that, you know. But there is no fish in there. I can guarantee there's nothing in there. If you had to put a diver's outfit on and dive down, I can guarantee you there's not even any plant life down there. I bet you there's not. There won't be a thing. No greenery whatsoever. Strange that for a river. If it was a healthy river, well, yeah, you get greenery and all that. And, you know, you wouldn't get any fish anymore. You'd have to populate it with fish. Which should be further upstream anyway, away from the estuary, obviously. Or they'll just get washed out, you know. But it should be a separate. You can do that with that, no problem. With the Thames alone, you can create a separate system for sewage. All you'd have to do is run the pipes under the riverbed, very deep under the riverbed, so that all the sewage goes through this big massive pipe underneath the Thames, very deep underneath the Thames, like a mile down or something, as deep as that. And the pipe goes straight out, follows the river, straight out into the ocean, and the pipe would pop up somewhere to release all the sewage. You know, like, I don't know, 5 miles away. 5 miles away from the estuary, away from the mouth of the river. That's not a problem. That shouldn't be a problem. I mean, London's got all the money in Britain. I don't see why it should be a bloody problem if it wasn't for the Tories thieving all the money like they thieve everything else. Scotland's gas and oil. Sunak. Gaza's gas and oil. Once all the Gazans are dead, Sunak. Don't you just love the fucking English shit? So anyway, testing is based on levels of E. coli and intestinal enterococcus, with samples taken over a 4-year period. The grading is broken into 4 categories: excellent, good, sufficient, and poor. Swimmers are urged not to go in the bathing water if it's class poor, and signs must be displayed, which there probably won't be, obviously, but never mind, to warn people. One of the problems facing England's coastal waters is the release of sewage from pipe systems during heavy rainfall. That shouldn't happen, though. It's because it's the only single pipe they've got for both rainwater and sewage. And it was originally, as I said, it was originally designed anyway, only to carry rainwater to rivers. But some mug somewhere later on, down the line, and government decided to double it up and push all the sewage into the rivers too. And yet, only months ago this year, the Tories were blaming Thames Water on that one. They're blaming a lot of the companies on that one when it's their responsibility. They're the government. It's up to them to have the money available to do that. It's not up to private companies. The private companies are only getting paid to manage it. The rivers don't belong to the private companies. In fact, to be honest, I don't know who the fuck they belong to. But the government is totally responsible for the rivers and everything. companies are there to manage it, and while the companies are managing it, they're responsible as well for the management of them. Obviously, that's the whole point. And they get paid very well for that, but it's not up to them to invest money, to invest their profits into it. They're only waste management companies. All of those companies are waste management companies, and that's what they're there for. That's what a contract is. If the Tories want, I mean, the Tories know they're obviously every time they publicly blame those private companies that are paid to manage as much as they can't really do anything. They're getting paid to manage that. They can't really manage it. That is the way it is. You've got one pipe, and both sewage and rainwater flows down and heads straight to all the rivers in England, and some out to shores to the beaches. Yeah, yeah. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard when it comes to anything like that. I was up in Scotland, of course, and I can guarantee everywhere else. We've got we did have set places, salt coats beach. It was called salt coats. The Scottish called it the shitey shore, and nobody ever went near it because everybody knew that's where all the sewage got pumped into that part of the ocean where salt coats is. And yet further down the beach was the Ayrshire coast, and you've got Largs and you've got Troon, and they were perfectly clean. There's a point, even though it's all the same beach and it's all the same water. A very long beach though, split up into different, called different names, different beaches. But only the Salt Coast one was the one that was, you don't go near it. No way, no way, man. But down in England, they've, and that was our choosing to do that. We chose to do that, to dump all our sewage on salt coats, so that all the rest of the beaches would stay clean enough anyway, to acceptable levels. But down in England, man, it's the same system for both rainwater and sewage. It's something like that. And England does need a brand new sewage system. And you're talking about, I don't know, probably at least $1 trillion. And where the hell are the Tories going to get it? Where's Labour going to get that from? They're not. Because none of them, I mean, the country doesn't own anything that brings in money. And we're not talking about, forget the taxes. That's bollocks. You can't run a country on taxes. You can't run a country successfully on taxes alone. That's one of the reasons the country's in a mess. And all the money that the Tories have borrowed, of course, for this project and that project and the next project, most of it never gets spent on those projects, did it? No. Where did it go? To the Tories and their friends. That's not running a country. These people are just scammers. That's all they are. That's usually what a politician is anyway. They're all most of them are all scammers anyway. Don't matter which party. Apart from Labour, of course, they're Zionists. So one of the problems facing England's coastal waters is the release of sewage from pipe systems. Yeah, we know this during heavy rainfall. We're aware of it. I'm talking about, as well as or runoff from farming fields and road drainage. Yeah, everything's all using the same pipe. You know, one pipe system for everything. It's a pissing joke. Talk about being cheap. And sooner or later, I mean, somebody's got to do something about it eventually. The pipes alone themselves aren't going to last forever. Even they'll need replaced eventually. What's a future government going to do? Just replace the same pipes with more of the same pipes and have the system still the same way? Only because they can't be bothered doing their bloody job. Investing in Britain. And I don't mean investing in private companies. Fuck your private companies. And the foreign investment. No. You need to do what other countries do. Even America. Not everything in America is privately owned. Half of it's government owned. Look at the railways. Look at the railways, for instance. England. I don't know why England cannot successfully run the railways without them getting out of control and getting overly expensive for customers and what have you. Not to mention the very private companies that are running them end up going to the wall eventually. Total bankruptcy. How that happens, I don't know. Doesn't matter whether they're nationalised or whether they're privatised. It always ends up going the same way. It always ends up in piles of debt. If it's nationalised, the government ends up in piles of debt that they can't afford to pay through nationalising railways. That's the way it happens after about 10, 15, 20 years. Privatising it, it's the same. All those private companies have a certain amount of financial and fiscal responsibility on their shoulders, and a lot of the time, eventually, they can keep it up for a while, but eventually, over 10, 15 or 20 years, some of them are going to go bankrupt. Or because the government puts too much onus on those private companies. And the government's got to remember they're private companies. They're not charities. They're there to make money. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of. If it wasn't for money, there wouldn't be any companies anywhere in the bloody world. And I wouldn't be saying this just now on here because there wouldn't be an on here, would there? No, without money. No internet, no computers, no webcams, no anything. No clothes. Now there's a point. Without money, nobody would be making any. You just have to make your own clothes. And that'd be a laugh. That would be. So anyway, in Weston-super-Mare, 3 beaches along the town's coast have the lowest rating for bathing water quality. The town's main, just put a notice up and say fuck off, stay away. You swim in these waters at your own peril. So anyway, the town's main beach, Uphill and Sandy Bay, the previous year, just the town's beach had the unwanted rating. Factors include sewage. Yeah, but they keep telling us this. They keep telling us this about sewage runoff and runoff from agricultural land as well. And seagulls. What the fuck has the seagulls got to do with it? So they're blaming the seagulls as well, which I find hard to believe, but never mind. Yeah, factors include sewage. We know this. Runoff from agricultural land and seagulls, with tests indicating the birds' droppings to be a significant source of poor bathing water quality, according to the Environment Agency. I doubt that. I doubt that very much. I mean, no other beach anywhere in the world has got a problem with bird droppings. And most of the countries in the world have got seagulls. And if there's not seagulls, they've got some other kind of bloody birds in their tonnage, flying about. And they don't have a problem with bird droppings on their beaches, do they? Hell? So I don't know where that's coming from. Apparently, it's coming from their tests, but at the end of the day, the main problem is sewerage. That's the number one issue, and I'm sure everybody in England will agree with that. The number one issue is keeping the sewerage away from rivers and beaches. And the only way you can do that is to build a whole brand new sewerage system that England doesn't actually have. It's just that one pipe system that is used for absolutely everything. Which I can guarantee there isn't any countries in Europe with a system like that. I can guarantee America, Canada, China, Japan, all those countries, Australia, won't have a system like that either. We don't have a system like that. Fuck that, man. I'd love to know. I'll probably tell you on the internet who it was that devised that. But I can't remember the guy's name. But the guy, the bloke that actually done the very first water waste system, he didn't do anything wrong, because he just designed a water waste system to carry rainwater into the rivers. The rainwater didn't do the rivers any harm. It was somebody else that came along later on and decided to run all the sewage through it. Whoever that was, that's who fucked it all up. And ever since that, you've been having your sewage run into your rivers and run onto your beaches and God knows what else. And then, as it says there, all the sludge and all that, and all, you're talking about fucking things like weed killers and, basically pesticides and all that end up in rivers too, off of the bloody farms. And not to mention, when they start muck spreading, a lot of that will end up on not just in your rivers, but possibly, I don't know, but on the beaches. It depends what routes those pipes are taking when they're going from A to B to C to D and what have you. It's just a mess. And that probably would cost, it would cost a lot of money. I mean, something that size for all of England, a brand new sewage system, you're probably talking about close to $1 trillion. You think about it, it would take years to do. And the longer it takes, the more years it takes to do, the more the prices go up year in and year out. And it could go quicker than that too. Every 6 monthly or whatever, depending on the global situation. Yeah. So there's a lot of different factors to take into account when you want to think about the cost. So that's why I would say $1 trillion, because that's definitely going to cover it. There's no point in fucking about. I mean, Jesus, the Prime Minister that fucks about like the Prime Minister's like a waste of time. Because you end up in a situation, the Prime Minister ends up in a situation in Westminster where the Prime Minister's questions, no doubt, that all the MPs are all complaining. Oh, how come it was said that this was going to be a cost and now this is a cost? Half the time I think MPs will just take a piss because they know perfectly well that the costs are going to rise, through time. It's just one of these things. You just got to add the added costs in. There's nothing you can do. Also in the southeast, Dunster Beach in Somerset and Port Looney. So it says Port Looney in Cornwall are deemed unsafe for swimmers. Elsewhere in the country, Bognor Regis in West Sussex, St Mary's Bay in Kent and Scarborough, South Bay in North Yorkshire are among the places where the quality of bathing water is poor. Tim Farron, Lib Dem's environment spokesperson, described the situation as a national scandal and said the government need to get tough on companies that cause pollution. How many times we've got to say it? He's talking shite. That's not a problem. The problem is there's no real sewerage system in England. It's one set of one pipe system for everything. That's the problem. I love them there talking bollocks, absolute plums. Don't know where he got that from. And yeah, probably there probably will be companies that are over polluting anyway. So to a certain extent, he's right. But so far as clean the rivers up, it's totally wrong. Because you definitely need a new set of a new sewer system, basically. A brand new sewer system for the whole of England. And probably Wales too, actually. More than likely. Yeah, so Shadow Environment Secretary Steve Reid also blamed the government. It is disgusting that families and children cannot enjoy these waters without the threat of getting sick. Despite the gross negligence, consumers are now expected to pay higher water bills, whilst chief executives are pocketing millions in bonuses. Yeah, and so do the bloody Tories. Water Minister Robert Moore said the government scheme called Plan for Water, aimed at toughening enforcement and driving investment in the industry, will continue to improve the country's bathing waters. They're talking shit. Those companies won't. There's no way. That's what I was saying earlier on. Because I mean, this is the thing about the British government. It doesn't matter who it is, where it's Tory or bloody stupid Labour. They always try and put all the financial onus onto the companies who are only there and getting paid with a contract to manage the water, but you can't manage it. Where are you going to manage it to? There's only one pipe system to take everything. To take rainwater, to take sewage, to take the overflow off of farms, which can be a lot of things and amongst that, including pesticides and God knows what. And it's all flowing out of rivers. It's up to our government to turn around and say, well, we're going to do something about this, we're going to get this sorted, we're going to get and do a brand new sewage system. But they don't want to do that. None of them do. And Labour won't fucking do it either. Of course they won't. It's like your housing standards in England. Totally abominable and utterly atrocious. And most of English know that, especially the ones that's living in accommodation with black mould up and down your walls and everything else. And only a few years back, a woman sent me a photograph of her gas fire. One of those old-fashioned 1990s gas fires. No gas central heating or anything. And that's a council-run flat that she was living in. It wasn't even a private. You can't really blame private companies for that one. She was, I can't remember which council it was in England. That was years ago, but yeah, all she had was an electric fire in the living room. No heaters in the bedroom or nothing. While everybody else, well, I presume most of England maybe will have gas central heating. You would think so, you know. And she's sitting with one gas fire in a one sitting room, and that's it. And that was a council-run establishment, not privately run. That's because there's no proper rules, regulations, or even laws in place to actually govern the standards and quality of social accommodation in England. There never has been. And out of all the times that, you know, it's all right for Labour to bang on about things like that now and again when it comes up on the news, when the Tories are in government. But it's another thing when Labour gets in. What have they ever done about it? Nothing. Not a damn thing either. They're just as much to blame as the Tories are. There's no getting away from that one. How many times have we had a Labour government in our lifetimes? Not as many as we've had Tories, but we've still had quite a few Labour governments, haven't we? Not one of them did anything about the standard of accommodation, social housing or anything. Or even bringing out new laws and new practices, lawful practices that private landlords would have to adhere to if they wanted to keep a license for being a private landlord. Yeah. But no. For some stupid reason, the politicians in the Labour Party, they don't want to bother with that. We all know why the Tories don't want to do that. They would rather pocket money rather than give it away to the poor people, you know, to make the poor people's lives a bit easier with having more decent accommodation, you know. That's the way Tories see it. But you would have thought by now Labour would have actually got a finger out their arseholes and actually done something about it a long time ago. Tony Blair's government, the Gordon Brown government, he wasn't in government as Prime Minister long enough anyway to do double squat, really. Tony Blair was, though. And the Labour government before him. The less said about that one, the better. Which drove Margaret Thatcher into power. Because it crashed and burned and died a bloody death in the 1970s. Because they were utterly bollocks. Why the English love Labour so much, I'll never know. I don't know. You'd have thought the English would have set up a better party than that. Nah. But it's up to them. We're doing okay up here, and that's what counts, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Water Minister Robbie Moore said the government scheme called Plan for Water, aimed at toughening enforcement and driving investment in the industry, will continue to improve the country's bathing waters. Note one, because those private companies can't afford the kind of investment that the government's talking about. The government wants these private companies. I've seen all this before over the past few years. The government wants all these companies to fork out every penny for investing in new pipelines and what have you, new waste pipe systems. Can't do it. He needs a brand new sewer system for the whole country. Fuck's sake, man. Those companies, I mean, they've got to. If they didn't give out dividends to their shareholders, the companies would go bust. They're businesses. They're not fucking charities. But the Tories are they're quite happy to palm the blame onto somebody else all the time, while they pocket money that they borrow instead of investing the money that they've borrowed into things that are needed, like a new sewer system, for instance. But you cannot borrow to do something like that. You've got to actually earn the money. You're a government. If a government doesn't know how to earn money to bring into its country to invest in infrastructure and in people, it's not a fucking government. It's as simple as that. It's not. I don't care whether it's the Tories or whether it's stupid, fucked up Zionist Labour or not. Nah. Nah. If they're no good, they're no good. Water UK, which represents the water company industry, said, thanks to water company investment, the number of English bathing waters with a good or excellent rating has more than trebled since the 1990s. If I were them, I wouldn't have come out with that shite. Since the 1990s. They're having a laugh, aren't they? So in other words, what are they trying to do? Back up the Tories now? They're trying to cover their own arse, Water UK. That's all they're trying to do by making that statement. The 1990s, yeah. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? I mean, you would have thought there wouldn't be any water problems today if we want to start from the 1990s. 30 years ago. 1993 was 30 years ago. So if you can't fix the problem in 30 years, then, whether you're a private company cannot, obviously, they can't afford all that investment It's up to the government to probably cover something like 75%. 75%. Well, you see, they wouldn't do that because that's called nationalisation. It's either that, or you're going to have to bring in even more private companies to invest money into something, and they're not going to do that. They're going to tell those tourists to go fuck themselves. I mean, if I had a company and it was worth like 100 billion quid, right? And I was like Mr. Billionaire, and they said to me, "Would you like to invest X amount of money into helping build a brand new sewer system for England?" The first thing I'm going to say to them is, "Well, what am I getting out of it then?" And they wouldn't be able to answer that because nothing. Hee-haw, bugger all, nothing. So I'm going to say to him, "Well, it's not a very sound investment, is it? That's no investment at all, Mr. Tory bastard. Go fuck yourself." And that's why nothing's been done. Whether it be Labour or whether it be the Tories. And it's a simple fact with any country. If a government owns its own industries, lock, stock and barrel, and hires competent people, competent high earners to run these and manage these industries, then they won't go bankrupt like Labour did in the 1970s. And these companies should be very successful and bring in billions every year. Depends on how big the businesses get. Could actually bring in trillions. There's a point. Ever expanding industries. And that's what that's what Britain as a whole doesn't have a fucking clue about. I mean, you just look at your MPs. What does Starmer know about big business? what do any of these people? I mean, even without having any qualifications and any sort of big business, you don't really have to. A lot of it's common sense, and a lot of it's vision. How much vision does Starmer have? Nothing. Rishi Sunak, no vision for Britain, only for his own fucking bank account, as we all know. As for the Lib Dems, I don't know what kind of vision they would have. Probably not much either lately. Yeah. England will probably still be like that in 100 years from now, with that one pipe system, with all the different kinds of waste all running through the one pipe system into the rivers and all that. People still be moaning about it probably, because neither Tories nor Labour are ever going to do fuck all about it, because they don't know how to get the money. And that's easy. That is easy. Reindustrialisation. It's as simple as that. But they don't know how to do it. So why are they running to be Prime Minister next year? Why is Starmer running to be Prime Minister next year if he doesn't know how to reindustrialise this country? And when I say reindustrialise, I don't mean private companies, as I said, nationalisation. But he's already pointed out he doesn't want to do that because the cunt doesn't know how. He doesn't know how. That's why he was against it. Months and months and months ago. Even last year he was against it. Because the cunt doesn't know how. He's one thick bastard. And it doesn't matter that he used to be Queen's Counsel and all that QC and all that bollocks. No one gives a flying fuck about that. That doesn't mean to say he's going to. Yeah. That doesn't mean to say he's going to make a great Prime Minister, I can tell you that. So far, he's been a shit party leader. He's done absolutely nothing with the party. The only reason the party's ahead, the Labour's ahead, is only because the Tories went downhill below Labour's body polling figures. The Tories went below Labour's polling figures. It's not that Labour went up. Did the fuck? Summers did absolutely fuck all with Labour. Not a damn thing. He thinks he can just mess about and, say this and say that and then dress up as Action Man once in a blue moon and what have you. And go to tea parties for pensioners and all this bollocks. And everything's going to be okay. And that's going to make Labour great. He may as well change his name to fucking Trump. He's an arsehole, man. Anyway,